In this video, we're going to be doing the cooling system in our square body, which is going to include that Speed-Engineering radiator that we bought, vintage air system, tying that in, fan shroud from LMC truck, and just kind of making that all work. Also, we're going to have to pull this front end back off once we get all that stuff fit so we can decorate those inner fenders from slosh tubs. Also, we've got new springs coming from TCI that are 650 pound instead of the 600s that are on it, because this baby just squashed to the ground. Some really good news. I just threaded on that fan. Now that's the one that came with this LS engine out of a truck. And this guy drops in here. It's got a really good fit with the right tolerance. This upper shroud will snap down a little closer when it connects to the lower one. And you can see we have, I don't know, maybe more clearance than you'd like on the outside of that fan to the shroud. But overall, I think that's going to be a really good fit. Should pull plenty of air through there to keep this sucker running cool and keep the air conditioner cold. So I'm taking a razor blade, cutting down these sides a little bit, and then gonna cut this middle section out. Keep your Band-Aids ready and your Copay handy anytime you're messing with stuff like this with a razor blade. We're gonna try something like this for the bottom ones. We trim the sides out of each of them because on that tank, you don't have that big ridge that goes between the actual radiator fins and the end tanks. It's kind of flat, so you can't have too much of a ledge on either side. This is what it ended up taking to mount this radiator. Of course, it does list on Speedway's website that you have to use the brackets that go on the back side of the support instead of the ones that mount to the top and hold over the top of the radiator like this. You'll have to cut a notch out to clear this corner. You want to use the outside edge to put your isolator in, or your grommet, and then you'll trim it some to where it'll fit around this tank. You're not going to be able to use where that hole is. Whoops, still wet paint. You're not going to be able to use where this hole is to hold this new shroud. On this side, basically I bent the bracket down so it would have a little bit of pressure against this top rib, because it's not going to reach out here and grab this seam. By the way, if you haven't taken the time to comment why in the world wouldn't you use electric fans, please take a moment and do that now. These custom applications, like we have a different bracket for our alternator and power steering and the air conditioner system, you kind of need to get your own belt measurement. So I've used a piece of ribbon from in the house. I don't know why we have this, but we do. A piece of string or anything should work. And just route it over your belt and then make a mark. I'm measuring it without any tension on this, which if I had another arm, I guess I could tension that. But if I just short it by a ½ inch or so, that should work. So I'll go down to the parts store and say, hey, give me something shorter than 98 inches. And this says 97 1/8. But it's way too short when I try to install it on the truck. And I noticed the part number has this 96 in it, which coincidentally is how much I measured on the outside of the belt that this is lengthwise. Well, I've been through it with the belts for this project. Finally, I think we're gonna settle on this Gates belt that claims 99 5/8. Measures 98 7/8 with a tape measure. I'm not unhappy with that amount of play. Could use to be a little tighter, but I'm not sure I want to mess with it at this point. Before I get a fan and a shroud and everything in my way, I'm going to go ahead and plumb up this steam port. This thing is not easy to get to. Our lower shroud is already installed. It just has some U-nuts with the lower radiator support. Go ahead and thread this fan on. You don't really have to worry about tightening it, because the direction of the engine will force it to be snug. And you can hit it with a big wrench just for good measure. Yeah, that's good. That'll help. I'm decently happy with how we've got those kind of held in place. Now the problem is it doesn't line up to any mounting brackets once it's pulled up tight. It's kind of on the edge there, just inside the edge here. There's nothing to really fasten it to. So I made this little tab bracket that I'm gonna put in here. I'm gonna paint it, and then it'll fasten against the radiator support and hold it just like we want it to be. The fan shroud is fully in place, and I like the clearance that we have there. That should be efficient. I went ahead and ran the heater hoses as well, which, you know, this one is 3/4 and has to neck down to 5/8. This one's 5/8 to the heater control valve, and then the one that necked down is the return out from the heater core. With these two fittings crimped on now, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the fenders and the inner fenders, because when I do get that lower fitting, we will be able to kind of route that much easier without this stuff in our way. So if you order a Speed-Engineering radiator, there's something you need to keep in mind. It doesn't have fittings, so you have to buy each of them. And again, it's gonna be about 130 bucks or 75 bucks a piece if you order one, which I did, which is between these two, to find out it's on back order for 4 months. This one is the smallest, and it measures 1 inch and 17/64. I think they call that 1 inch and 5/16. This one, 1 inch and 49/64. I think they call this one 1 inch and 3/4. But it doesn't matter what size you order. The opening in the radiator is the same size, and the opening down the center of these fittings are also all the same size, just under 7/8 of an inch. So it has nothing to do with the flow. It only relates to what size hoses you're gonna buy. I've done my best to be nice, but here it is. Do not buy one of these piece of crap radiators. It'll cost you way more than you think it's gonna cost. They weren't sure what the thread pitch is here and thought it was 1/4 inch NPT. I have almost no faith in that not leaking. After getting another one of these $55 plus tax plus shipping fittings and running it in, there's something up with the threads, I guess. It made it 3/4 of the way in and hit a dead stop. And I thought maybe a burr, but I couldn't see anything, and I turned it some more. So that is what my $75 part from Holly looks like right now. And you can see what I had to do to try to get it in and out of there. I'm sure there's a logical explanation why you can't thread the fittings in without an issue. At some point, you got to put all the fault on the purchaser or the installer. So I just cut off the last maybe 2 threads on the end of that fitting. It's an O-ring seal anyway. It just has less threads making pull against it, I guess. I even put some thread sealing on there, and I ran that thing all the way in until it's tight, and then snug this one up as well. If it leaks, I'll just suck it up and actually buy a quality LS swap radiator. When you're doing these swaps and you got different size fittings, upper and lower, that don't match anything factory, I get some coat hangers and cut them and bend them and then mark which end is the bottom, measure, take these notes with you to the parts store, take your calipers with you. Hopefully they'll let you cruise around back there and find something. You may have to do some cutting and trimming. Make sure and make a note of which hose numbers you ended up with, so in case you're out on the road and you have a problem, you'll get it fixed. But anyway, voila. You better believe I double clamp that sucker. Next thing I usually do, pro tip I guess, always test your coolant system with just distilled water. That way if you have any leaks, it's not anything bad that drips on the ground. And once you know for sure you're in good shape, you can just drain it. Good news, we know that our temp sensor, our alternator voltage is good. I haven't seen that yet. Of course, oil pressure's still good. Kind of want to wait and see the water temperature rise up, because I'd like to know that works before we call it quits. Looks like the tach may or may be correct. I don't know. This 600 RPM seems a little low. temperature. Yeah, we got a little steam. It shouldn't be this hot. The thermostat is a 160. And there was no, there's absolutely no hot water coming out of this heater core. So it's not circulating either. So it would seem our water pump is not pumping. I had a little heat in the upper coolant hose. I had absolutely none down here. It was still cold. Now close to the water pump is a little warm, but I just think that's heat transferring. So unfortunately, all that work that we did has to come back off in order for us to change the water pump. We'll also probably change out that steam port kit. It was an inexpensive one. I thought I'd save a few dollars, and that's not gonna work out. Also, that temp sensor was leaking between the sensor and the fitting of the adapter fitting. So that's a problem too. Truck building. I went ahead and pulled this thermostat housing off and put it in a pan on the stove with a temperature probe in the water and heated it up. Whenever it reached, I don't know, high 160s, this section starts to, the spring contracts actually and opens the thermostat. So a little known fact, thermostats actually begin to open at the temperature they're rated for. So if this is a 160-degree thermostat, it should start opening at 160 degrees, usually fully open 15 to 20 degrees higher than that. So at 180, it should be fully open, but I noticed this one reached to about 185 before I think it was actually open. But out of fairness, it didn't start opening till at least 165. Probably hard to have that dialed in with just a spring like that with heat. Every thermostat's gonna vary a little bit. I just wanted to make sure that this was certainly not the culprit in why our system kind of overheated during our first test. I also replaced the water pump. You can see I put the water neck back on it there. Guess I better take this little thread saver off, and clearly have removed the intake and my inexpensive eBay steam port kit. And the brown truck just dropped this off from our boy Dougie Fresh. Nice. And here's the Rife temp sensor that threads directly into those heads. I notice it's a 2-wire, so may end up not working for our application. So I've got the steam kit installed, and I do kind of have these bent down to where this is pretty low. It's not pinching the wires, but I remember having some clearance issues with the other one. Also, I just went ahead and put some more Teflon tape on this sensor and put it back the way it was, because by the time I got the motion stuff, they're already closed and I can't ask them about wiring that other sensor. So for now, we'll run that one, put everything back together, see what happens. Have some temperature, slowly climbing. No heat that I can tell coming from these vents. The heat on. So for those of you who weren't screaming at your screen to tell me what I should be doing, here's the pro tip. The block won't fill very well just from filling up the radiator and unhooking the steam vent and all that. So I disconnected the coolant hose, the heater hose actually, that goes behind, which is this one, goes behind the thermostat, and this will allow me to put coolant directly through the water pump and into the block as long as I hold it up above the height of the engine block. It took just over a gallon, and then it started coming out through this heater control valve once I guess it was full to that point, which, yeah, that's above the cylinder heads are pretty close, so we should be primed. I am actually getting some heat from these vents, and the temperature is just under 160. Some steam from the steam vent. Temperature is holding. The heater is definitely working. Now I can clean up this mess that I made whenever I was filling these hoses and see if we're actually leaking somewhere or if it's just, again, the mess that I made. I wiped everything down last night so we could have a fresh and clean start. I see this one drip. The water is resting on the frame rail, and for the life of me, I'm having a hard time spotting it, but I think it may be a small leak in this top-notch radiator. Now, I could hope that that's just residual from yesterday. I'm gonna get it put back together as soon as I get the rest of the parts, and we'll see if that small leak progresses or if it was just residual coolant. And we'll change it if we need to, but I'm ready to get this thing on the road, and I appreciate you guys sticking through and watching. I think we all learned something today.